Hello, loves. Welcome back to Floating on a Cloud podcast. I am your host, Sarah Sparks, and today we are chatting with Kelly Rogers. She is a shaman. I also want to say shaman sometimes, shaman, whatever, and seer, offering a vibrational guidance and support as we move to the new earth or heaven on earth. And that has been a topic that Spirit has been downloading for me to share with the group program. So I would love to talk more about that, Kelly. And she offers a variety of tips and practices to keep our vibrations high, including weekly classes, free meditations, gifts shared by the archangels and ascended masters who not only guide us here, but are here to help all of us as we make this shift. So much. Oh my gosh, this is the second round of our conversation. And every time we talk, I'm just like, whoa, let's talk. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, these are really exciting times. They're also, there's really a shift going on right now. And I'm going to guess, like myself, many people are feeling kind of out of body. They're feeling tired, achy. This shift going to the new earth or the heaven on earth, it is truly frequency and vibration it's coming into us at a higher level. And for us that are, like myself, who is a little bit older, you know, our higher self or our spirit self is moving up, and our physical part has to move up as well. And so the physical part is going to have a few bumps and on the road because it is not at the highest, the higher frequency that our higher self is. And so I know for myself, it's been a lot of all the things I said, kind of floaty, out of body, tired, achy. And then all of a sudden I'll have a burst of energy and might be feeling just total love and just wonderful. And so, I think no matter what stage you're in here, we're all kind of going through this together. And what they show me, like I've shared in the past, this has been a many year journey. And the picture that I get now is that we are just going to be 6 inches higher than we are now. And so what does that mean? What they show me in vibrational terms is that we're just going to be a little bit higher than we are now. We aren't going to have the physical, maybe as many physical needs as we have right now. We will be able to see all of our guides and the angels and ascended masters that are here with us. Some of us can sense them, we can see them, we can smell them. We know they're around us or not. Some don't know that, but we all have a posse. We all have a number of beings that are with us, helping us on this journey, which is so wonderful. And I know we were just talking about your previous podcast and how they were talking about your angel wings coming out. And I think many people are starting to feel that kind of itch in between the shoulder blades and having a sense of wings coming out. And when you shared that, the vibrations were just all over my body. And so, I know it's okay, so let's tap in. Let's say, okay, who do we have there? And who's guiding you? And I get Archangel Raphael is with you. Mm-hmm. And let's see, there are more. Mm-hmm. Zedkiel, Archangel Zedkiel. And there's a group of archangels that are in the Elohim Council, and they're really connected to this ascension and this raising of our vibration and this raising of our earth plane. And so they take on groups or pods of people, and they kind of shared this with me earlier. They're like, oh, share this part. This is good to know. I'm like, okay, that we are connected to others across the globe who are doing similar work. And we may or may not have connected with those people, but there are many of us doing different pieces of that puzzle of the work that's happening to get us to this place. And with all the craziness that is going on our earth plane right now, with initially the COVID virus, and then now the shot or jab, because it has been proven that this is truly not a vaccine. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, I feel like the battles that were going on galactically are no longer there. And I know this is really supposed to be more of, chat with people who are just maybe starting to come into their gifts. But I'll tell you, you could be just starting to come into your gifts and feeling like you're battling all night. And you may be one of us who's out there battling and just not know that yet. That's one of the nice things about the class that I share is we've had people come there and we're able to share some of what's going on with us on a weekly basis. And then I also send out a weekly newsletter, and I'm guided there to help people. It's like, what's important. Just a few weeks ago, it was all about flow, staying in flow and releasing the knowing, because as humans, we want to understand what's going on and where are we going. And I'm just like everybody else. If I have a friend who channels and this is going to sound crazy. This is really woo-woo 305, but I had some giants show up at my house and I knew that they were there. I could sense them, and she was able to channel them. And they were talking about what we're going through, and that it is going to be a rebirthing. And they said, and it was funny because they were like, just like a baby that comes out and how it's crying and using its lungs for their first time, its feeding tube is cut off. And so it's going through this entire change and it doesn't understand what's happening. We are going to be in that same situation. And so right away, I have 10 questions. Okay, well, what does that, like, how soon is this going to be? And what I kept getting is, we really can't ask any questions because it is all somewhat unknown. Even though we're amazing beings, we're much more than just this physical. We agreed to come in and have all of our knowing kind of dummied down. And so it's going to be a process for all of us. And it's kind of like the oneness is just like everybody hang on to each other. You can do this dimensionally. You don't have to physically be in the same place with anyone. I mean, I'm now holding hands with you, Sarah, and we can all hold hands with anybody, our guides and anybody across the planet to help support us while we're going that 6 inches above where we are now, and where we're going to be able to see beings that we aren't able to see now. And my understanding is there will be humans on this planet that may not be able to see us any longer because we're at a higher vibrational level. And it's really kind of mind-blowing, because once you start connecting or understanding about, knowing that you have beings around you, and you know that we can't see them, but they can see us, but we sense that they're there. We have a sense. And one of the things that they suggested I talk about was how to tap into those beings. If you haven't gotten that sense that there's beings around you, you can ask. You can ask for something. A scent. Initially, when I started connecting, I would get the smell of chocolate chip cookies. Now, I didn't know who that being was, but I got the smell, and it was when I was in the car going to a certain place. It was a psychic class, and I was like, oh, someone must be here. And then there were times where it would smell like tobacco smoke, and I'm like, oh, someone must be here. And it really is kind of baby steps in having the understanding that there are other beings around us, and just asking them to give you an idea of if they're there, or if you do smell a scent, say, who are you? Like I shared previously, the first time someone came to me very clearly, I was on a shaman's table having a healing, and he very clearly appeared to me behind me. And I didn't even think to ask his name. And now today I talk with him all the time, and there's communication happening. And we can have this with angels, like Archangel Metatron and Archangel Michael are very involved in this ascension process and this new earth grid. And so what I understand also in how this is going to kind of be created is it's going to be us manifesting the life that we want. So start thinking right now about what would be your perfect life, and no limits. Who would you like around you? For me, I like a little beach hut with a lagoon and my snorkel gear, and I can jump in the ocean every day and go snorkeling. And I see beach huts all around the lagoon with the people that I care about. And everyone has a different kind of idea of what they'd like, who they want around them, what kinds of things would you find joy in on a daily basis. And we're really we can start doing some of those things now. Manifesting is something that is becoming easier and easier as our vibration increases. And so that's one of the things that is pretty cool, is like, we have no idea where we're going, but we can create this new heaven on earth. And one of the free meditations that I'd love to share with everyone kind of guides you into what I've been working on for years, which is the new earth grid. And Archangel Metatron actually guides us there as a group. And then when we come back, there are a couple of beings that bring us out. And how I've noticed that, I meditate every day. I found that was a really important practice, to meditate at least 15 minutes a day. And what has happened with that is I do get visions while I do a guided meditation. Again, I can share that kind of information with you. But by going into that new earth grid each day, I've seen that it's now opened up. They said it's ready. You can partake of this. You can start partaking of this new earth. I see this beautiful bench. I see this beautiful lily pad, pond that I sit at. And I just like sit there with different beings every day. It's very beautiful. And really don't negate your imagination, because we do have that. And whether we want to believe that we're making things up or that they're really true, probably more than likely they're really true, because we have been taught so many limiting beliefs that once we start opening up to all possibilities, then all of a sudden you'll say, oh, I have some giants in my backyard visiting me. Let me see what they want. I mean, it's really kind of bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this came from a teacher who said, we all have finder fairies. And that was kind of helped me to start realizing the other beings around me, because I'd go, okay, finder fairies, help me find whatever. And then you start finding things and you're like, oh my, there are other beings here that are helping me. And it just starts building the trust. And then you start smelling things and sensing things. And, it does start coming. And knowing that you have a lot of support, whether it's in physical form or not, we do have a lot of support here.
Yeah. You had mentioned about archangels. What information, I know that you said that they're here to support, and that, some
Yes.
people, it's like they're very present.
Yes.
What other things do we need to know about archangels?
Well, like, when I started sensing Archangel Metatron around me, I was, because I was really new in the sensing and understanding things, I would ask for a scent, and he came through as like dust on a light bulb. So when you turn on the light bulb and you've got dust on it, you know how it has that kind of electrical scent? He's with me right now. I can tell because my body's very, very hot. That's his new signature, is he'll just come in and he just heats me right up. And so, like I mentioned, Metatron and Michael are very much involved in the Ascension. Raphael is huge about healing. So it's like, so when I sense that he was around you, I'm guessing there's healing that's going on in your practice, in what you do. Gabriel has started coming in very strongly. And I know just through meditation, I started meeting these archangels. And that's one of the things that we can do. We can meditate and we can say, you know, I would like to, I'd like a sense of the I think everyone has at least one archangel around them. They're everywhere.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can humans be angels, or do they just have angels around them?
I think we have an aspect that's an angel, because we have many aspects. Now, this is going way out, but my understanding is there's a lot of different timelines and there's many dimensions. Mm-hmm. And we, because I've been able to talk with Metatron, I asked him what time, how many places am I at one time? Because I've seen myself travel to other timelines, and I've seen myself travel to different dimensions. And I see myself a little bit differently. We have aspects which can be human or galactic or angels. And so when I asked him how many places am I at one time, he said 366 times 366. And I thought, wow, that's a lot. And I think we are many, 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 many things. And this is just one small part. But then when we start looking at our higher self and our sacred self, we are this large being. But within that, I think our aspects and our other beings are all connected to that, like with echo cords. And I'd learned about this years ago, that we have a cord connected to everybody that we have been in contact with. And so I know for myself, I've seen wings. I could certainly see your wings when we first started this podcast. It was like, oh my, when I was feeling all that vibration coming from you, mm-hmm. Your angel being was coming through very clearly, very strongly. For me, I have one of my aspects as an artist, an Asian. And his timeline is it's like 1950s there, even though it's 2021 here. These timelines all work in a, time is illusion basically, but they work slower or faster. And so I had an aspect that was in 434 BC, who actually I was with him when he transitioned, and this was just a few years ago. That particular timeline was very, very, behind what ours is. They've shown it to me. The easiest way to describe it is if you cut a tree and you see all the rings. And so each one of those rings is a timeline, and you can have an aspect in every single one of those rings. Mm-hmm. And so you may have, like I said, they may be human, they may be galactic. I just recently connected up with my Andromedan aspect, which I didn't even know I had. I was like, okay, I've been very drawn to the Pleiadians because of the constellation, the Seven Sisters of Pleiades, and I have connected up with the Arcturians, which are their healers as well, but I feel very drawn to them. And that's what the beauty of all this is you will kind of get hits or just kind of a magnetic pull towards things that will help you kind of, and whether you need to know this or not, but for me, it was nice to start really connecting with the different parts of me to understand why I felt like an outsider. You know, I was looking at all these human people and they all seem to have these happy lives and were able to follow the rules, and that seemed difficult to me. It was just like, it was like square peg in a round hole. And I'm like, why? And when we start just imagining ourselves as much more than just this, and that we have all these different flavors and bits of information connected to other planets and other lifetimes and other timelines and other dimensions, it really starts making us kind of this rainbow being. That's what they're showing me. They're showing me that we're really this beautiful rainbow light. We're all these little prisms and all this, and we're very rich. And when the beings see us, they see our light. They don't see, you know, this necessarily the physical form or the goofy things that we get all weird about. You know, it's like, oh, my hair isn't combed, or what, you know, they just see the beautiful light that we are.
How did you become so comfortable talking about this information? I find, and I've now gotten to meet many other people who are very open, but it was one of the things that I struggled with, was just truly accepting all this knowledge that was coming to me and through me, and then being open enough to share it. Have you always just been this way, or have you?
No.
What
no.
did it take for you?
I thought I was schizophrenic, so no.
Yeah.
And I was hiding from the men in the white jackets that were going to come and get me. I really was under a towel in a cave for a very long time. And I think it was because somehow I was led to people who were even beyond my knowledge level and validated when I had a being talk to me when I was at a retreat, and I was just like, oh, okay. And I thought, all right, well, I'll share this with my friend that I came with, but I won't share it with anyone else. And the woman running the retreat said, Kelly, did you see something today? And I'm like, well, I heard something. And then I shared it. And I shared it in front of the whole group that was at that retreat. And no one said, oh my God, you're crazy. They actually came up and said, oh my gosh, tell me more. Because they'd had those kinds of experiences and they had been afraid to share. And so it really kind of snowballed, because as I would share and people would go, oh my goodness, thank you for saying that. I've had these experiences and I didn't understand them. I just had someone from England contact me through LinkedIn and we must talk. And I'm like, okay. I set up a Zoom and we talked for 2 hours. And she was just so excited. She had just gotten that magnetic pull to say, please, let's talk, because I think you have some information that will help me.
Yeah.
She's very new on the journey. And that's, I'm here to serve. So it's like, if anybody wants to just talk and get some validation, I'm here, because I had a few people that did that for me. And it was so powerful. And then, I was just guided to more people. And I have been around people that look at me strangely. I found that I will be open wherever I'm at. And if I get those looks like, oh no, this one needs some help, then I just like, okay, those aren't going to be people that I hang around with,
I feel you there. I had seen this gal walking all the time in our neighborhood, and I kept passing her and kept seeing her, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So we were standing at a swim meet and we're standing next to one another, and finally I was like, okay, like, what's your name? I've seen you all over the place. I'm like, do I really know you from somewhere else? Because you feel very familiar to me. And she's like, oh yeah, you do too. You look really familiar. And I said, I think it's just from us walking around the neighborhood that we like know each other, but I'm not sure. And so then she asked me what I do. And out of my mouth comes, and I live in South Carolina, so I'm also very conscious of the religious point of view in the South. And so I'm like, well, people come to me, women particularly come to me who want to know who they are, where they're going, what's their purpose in life. And so then I help guide them and that sort of thing. Just kind of like keep it general because I was kind of feeling her out. And she's like, oh, so you're a life coach. And I was like, yes, in a sense, but I kind of take a twist on it. I said, basically, I've been granted by God to talk to another soul, and the soul talks back to me and tells me why it's here. So it's like cut out all the personality tests and all the designs and all the charts and all the things. And the soul just talks and tells me. She literally was like, oh, okay. So we had like a whole conversation before this. She asked me finally, like I'm talking to her about all the things that she does. She asked me and I tell her, and she's like, okay, awkward as all get out, makes up an excuse to walk away. And I was like, well, another person that I don't need to talk to.
But you know what's beautiful about that is it's still in service. It's always in service, because when there may be a time where something will happen and she'll say, oh my, I need to go talk to Sarah.
I know. My husband's like, and she's been thinking about that interaction since the day it happened.
Right. And it's really important because I know like my mother was intuitive and she wasn't afraid to admit that. She didn't talk about it a lot, but when there was an incident, she was open about it. We went and saw fortune tellers or palm readers. That was just an okay part of our lives. And because of that, there wasn't like, oh, but even with that, there, when I started hearing voices and that kind of thing, I still was like, okay, we're still not going to be sharing that with everybody. But it does help. It helps for people to know that there are other people out there that are having some kind of experience that they can say, okay, am I crazy? Am I not? And for the most part, not. I mean,
I stopped being me for quite some time because I thought I was crazy. Like I would write letters to people and they would be like, and I mean like notes, not like letters and not like weird pen pal stuff. Like it was just like if I were to have somebody have a birthday or something, I would send them a note and I would be guided what to write, but I didn't know that at the time. And so I would write it and they would get it and they would call me crying and like, oh my gosh, how did you know? And that was so touching and moving. Or I wrote a letter to this gentleman who was at a Christian Experience weekend, and I didn't know his daughter died in a car accident. But whatever was written on that paper, which I don't even remember because I just wrote it, I wrote something, the same message on all 20 some odd people's cards. And then I got to his name and I felt, because at the time, again, I didn't know that it was spirit. I wasn't aware of my gifts. I just was like, I need to write something different. Well, what do I write? And so I just wrote it and I gave it to him. He stood up and was like crying. He's like, whoever wrote this knows exactly what was going on. And I just sat there and I'm like, I'm not saying a darn thing because that is just so crazy. Like, that is weird. No one should, like, I didn't know, like, I had no idea. And so then he opened up and shared this whole story. And so I think sometimes that's what stopped me, is what I was getting at, was the thought I'm crazy or I'm the only one doing this. And then I realized, like, I think it's like, is it human design? I don't know. Some people have been talking to me about human design a lot lately, my clients and such. And they, is that manifesting generator? Is that like a thing in there?
Yes, I've done.
And so people are like, oh, I'm only like 7% of the world or 9% of the world. And I'm like, well, let's just say this. Everybody that I talk to currently is a manifesting generator. So I'm not quite sure if the percentage is just really high coming in this way. But well, everybody that I talk to currently is.
Yeah, and it's good not to label. But you know what I love about your story is you were channeling. And that's really important for your audience, because I did that way before I started realizing I had gifts.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Start writing, like you're frustrated with something, or you're trying to work through something that maybe, you haven't been able to work through, or you need to when you start writing, and if you allow spirit to come in, or you don't even have to think about it, just start writing a story, right?
So I've been asked to write a chapter in a book, and we're talking about a sacred medicine. And I'm like, what the heck do I write about? Like, I'm not this like healing medicine gal, I'm like, I don't know. And I guess I am in some way, but I never considered myself. Kind of like when someone asked me to channel for their birthday party once. And I was like,
hold on a second, I got to sneeze here.
All right.
I need to.
All right, we had to take a little break, so now I'm back. Here we are. All right, so the healing medicine that I was referring to and writing things out, I didn't even realize that I was channeling at the time that I would be writing things out. I did not feel like I should marry my first husband. And this was like November of 2003, and we ended up getting married of August of 2004. And so I wrote out, like, out of me comes, and I didn't know it. Again, I didn't know at the time that I was like, out of me comes this whole list, this letter, what I would call now letter to God, letter to the universe, of writing. I was like, this is what I want in a husband. And I just wrote how I want to be treated. Not necessarily what I thought he should look like, because it wasn't that, like, I wasn't projecting to my current soon-to-be husband what I wanted. I actually felt like I need to express to him, this is what I really want in a husband, in a partner, in this relationship, in this life. So this is what I want to experience. This is how I want to feel. This is our interaction. This is what our mornings look like. This is what our nights look like. I wrote it all out and I shared it with him. We were sitting in the kitchen of my parents' house, and it was late at night underneath the oven or stovetop thing, and we were just sitting on the floor, and I was talking with him, and I'm like, I need you to read this. Like, I don't think this is you, and I think we should just go our own way. I wrote it all out. I honestly, I don't even know where it came from. It just kept coming and coming. And I don't think that the person I wrote out of who I really want in a husband is you. And he's like, oh, but I can be. Like, I may not be that now, but I can be. And I'm like, but I don't want you to change. Like, I'm not asking you to change. I just don't think that who I really want is who you are. And that's okay. And I was perfectly fine, like, saying all this. And we ended up still getting married. Like, I did. And so 5 years after that, and I feel like that was all divine guidance, like coming out onto the paper. So even people, so that's going to be my divine medicine, is like, hey, let's write out this letter and just allow what is within us to truly just come out of what it is that we want to experience. What do we want to feel? So 5 years later goes past after we got married, and I'm like, I have to leave. Like, I like, it's this confidence and this knowing that came over me that, like, before I was maybe like wishy-washy about, but I just sat in front of him and I'm like, listen, I'm leaving. I have another place. I know that this is hard. I know that this sucks, but I love you as a human being. And if I stay here, I'm going to hate you. And I don't want to do that. I'm like, and what happened was, like, right before I was like making that decision and like telling him, I found the letter, and it was in my wedding planning book. And I found it going through drawers and stuff. And a friend of mine asked me to go to Florida, like, all in this time. And that's when I met Craig, my now husband. So timelines are all crossed if you got all that. And I met Craig, And he was the man from my dream that if people ever heard my story, that's what that is all about, which this is about you, Kelly Rogers, and not Sarah Sparks. So I'm trying to, but when you're talking about writing things out, it was such a profound moment that even if I didn't know what I was doing, and I had this like, this is how you listen to divine guidance, and I'm practicing this and I'm meditating, like I didn't know. It literally just like came out of me. I wrote it out. And it was such a profound moment because then years later, I'm now married to the letter of the universe dude. Like it, like, and
but that's
it's
beautiful.
It's amazing and crazy.
You honored it. You honored it.
Yeah.
Even though
it took me a little bit.
And, yeah, but you know what? Isn't that how we all operate? You know, when we get that divine guidance, we're not like, oh, there, okay, there it is. Yes, okay, move forward. We doubt it. You know, I know I always like check in with friends and, you know, like, what's going on with you? What do you think about this? But we do, that is just our human part. But how beautiful that you wrote it and you said the words, you know, and that's the same as like when you start getting your gifts and then sharing them with others. It's that same thing. Okay, I've got to honor how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And for right now, it might be correct or right for me, and that might change, and that's okay. But really honoring as we learn more pieces of the puzzle, right? And how beautiful. I know I did something similar. I was told, or, you know, write down what you want in a partner. And I did. And I had, you know, like 4 things. And I've been with that man for 19 years now. So, you know, that is a really wonderful practice. And I love what you said. You know, what do you want your life to look like? We could all do that exercise right now towards this new earth, towards this new heaven on earth. Take 15 minutes of quiet time and just start writing. What kinds of things would you love to have in your life? And you know, don't get into a lot of, you have to keep it a little bit higher, not too many details, but kind of what feelings would you like and what kinds of people would you like? That's beautiful, Sarah. I mean, I really think the angels are speaking through you to help this, you know, conversation get to like, okay, how can we help the masses who might be, you know, all those people listening and going, well, yeah, what do I do? What kinds of tools will help me to just even get started?
Yes.
Yeah,
sure.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Those wings hanging out there.
Thanks for letting me chat it up.
It was good. Because you know what? That is how it is. When we're guided, when we get that information, it's just getting it out there and sharing it with others, and, you know, preferably with people that are going to, you know, be excited to hear you talk about what process you're going through to help you get to the place, you know, you're heaven on earth.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have, you had just mentioned it, but I would love for you to repeat it. Do you have any final advice for people wanting to connect, wanting more like information on archangels or multiple dimensions or this walk on creating this new heaven on earth? I know you just said the question, but if you could repeat it for me, that would be awesome.
Anybody can just contact me. Okay. I'd be more than willing to talk with people. I have, like I said, I've got a class that's helpful. But sometimes people just need, I just had another person who contacted me through a social media thing, and she was very in tune with what's going on. Everybody's kind of at a different place. So it's like, I am very open to helping anyone just start getting on their path and connecting up with some different resources. Because I know for myself, I was going to this channeled event monthly, and there someone stood up and talked about Christine Day, who's the ambassador of the Pleiadians. And right away, it was like my, whoop, the Pleiadians. Oh, I've always loved that constellation. Today, Christine and I are dear friends. I've stayed with her on her property. I've done so much work to, through her classes. And it's, so you find those connections through other people and other that have connected up with other resources. There's so many people out there that are just connected in many, many different ways. And you'll find that you'll listen to someone and you go, oh my gosh, I want more of that.
Mhm.
And then you'll listen to someone else and go, not so much. And so for me, I've got like just a handful of places that I go, but that doesn't mean that there aren't another handful of places that someone can check out that won't resonate with them to help them on their path.
Yes. Awesome. And if we just go to KellyRogers.Biz or even email you at Kelly@KellyRogers.Biz, then we can connect.
My Gmail is KellyRogers.Biz@gmail.com, but there's a spot where you can sign up for my newsletter on my website. But yeah, just contact me, KellyRogers.Biz@gmail.com, and we can set up a call, and I can send out meditations, and it's like Metatron. One of the things he did share with me was how to do a healing process with his cube, and that is on my website. Ascended Master Cerebus Bay, who is another good buddy, also gave me another healing practice, which they've asked me to record, which I haven't done yet, but I will be doing that soon. So it's wonderful how we get this information. Mm-hmm. Use those finder fairies. That's, if you're looking to start, use the finder fairies, start writing something down, see what kind of message comes through to you, to start really tapping into your wonderfulness, your rainbow light.
Yes. Thank you so much for having this conversation and your energy and all the love. And I just love it. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Bye.